the entertainment highlight of the week.
Red Ray Gun Limited presents
The Benji and Nick Show. Hello. Oh, it's good to be here.
Yeah, wow. It's a bit noisy for both of us, isn't it, at the moment?
It is. We are doing this on... this has been recorded on Thursday the 25th, which is in the midst of a heat wave.
It's the hottest day.
Oh,
by the way, good morning.
Good afternoon.
Yes, it is indeed. Good sustenance.
Good gravy. Haha, using yours for a change.
Good bread to dip in the gravy.
Good pencils to sharpen, to write down the order of the gravy and the bread.
Good grief, this could go on forever.
But it doesn't, because I'm Loch Nessing you. Bang!
That's
Loch
just,
Ness.
you can't do that. It's Steward's inquiry, please.
Please, Christ. Oh, dear.
That was the Loch Ness game. For any of you who haven't listened to the Benji and Nick show before, it really isn't worth explaining.
It's not. It's one of those ones. If you listen to us again, you'll be like, oh, I see what's going on here, and you'll get it.
Yeah. Well, I'm Benji. He's Nick. Spot the deliberate mistake.
Yeah. Spot the irony there. It's not that ironic, is it?
No, not at all.
Not at all. There's no irony there.
I suppose it's dramatically ironic, isn't it? Because the audience knows something that we allegedly don't.
Yeah.
You are in fact Benji, and I'm in fact Nick.
It's like in a film when it's called like Attack of the Gigantic Shark That Has Legs. And all the people in it don't know that there's a shark with legs. But we know that there must be, because it's called that. Just like what we are critiquing today, doing a commentary for the final episode of Revenge of the Cybermen, in which
this is true.
The Cybermen allegedly are in it, even though they're not at first for a little while.
But they're certainly in part 4, which is where we're up to.
It's going to be a real cyber feast. But for all of you that don't know what we do, we talk about cult television, TV from the past, TV fondly remembered, TV forgotten, and just lots of old gems, really, because we love it. And
it's true.
We have a variety of different style podcasts, don't we, Nick?
Yes,
would you like to?
Yes, we do.
Would you like to talk the lucky listeners into
here's my
about
style
what we do?
guide.
Wednesday we wear flares.
I'm wearing shorts today. Not an
so am I.
So am I. Yes, I saw your knee poking up earlier. Matron. So yes, sometimes we set ourselves the task at the end of an episode of the Benji and Nick show to watch a particular thing and then report back the next week and have a little chat about it. Another thing we do is we sort of chat generally about the TV we've been watching. So mostly old stuff, but possibly some new stuff in there as well. And the other thing we do is commentary, usually of a Doctor Who story with music by Carrie Blyton.
Seems to be the way it's going, doesn't it?
That's what this is. Revenge of the Cybermen was broadcast on BBC One in 1975 as part of Tom Baker's first season in the role as the Doctor. It's the final story that went out, and it's much maligned by many Doctor Who fans. It was a story that had many troubles in the scripting stage and indeed in the post-production stage with the music, because the producer of the time, Philip Hinchcliffe, didn't much like Carrie Blyton's music. What? I hear you say, but there you go. But what I didn't realise is that he got the Radiophonic Workshop in to do it. I knew that, but actually Carrie Blyton was at the Radiophonic Workshop session.
Oh, really? So he was obviously there either feeling like a bit of a fool or getting irritated, or at least say, oh yes, that's rather brilliant, isn't it?
Well, I think he was probably playing it, you know, that
it would be great if he was, wouldn't it? I'd love to hear the voice of Carrie Blyton, because I always imagine him to be quite sort of quiet and very sort of nice, sort of well-measured man.
Carrie Blyton.
Hey, Carrie Blyton. But this is when we actually hear the fact that he probably talks like that. It's probably it was a proper geezer. Yeah, I got these flugelhorn segments, but I don't buy it personally.
Yes, I feel that he was rather genteel.
He seems it, and I like the idea that if you go onto his website, he has turned quite a few of his Doctor Who scores and cues into little waltzes, which you can buy the license to use to this day.
Lovely.
And there we go. But so that's what we're going to be doing today, which is episode 4, the final part of Revenge of the Cybermen, and then it is back to the drawing board as to what we'll do commentary on.
We've no idea.
Because whilst the Silurians would be good, it does feel like it might be a life sentence, because it's a very long story.
Well, yeah, the reason we would be choosing it is because the music's by Carrie Blyton, of course.
Yeah, which is
the last one by Carrie Blyton.
The trilogy.
We've done them in reverse order, really, haven't we?
We have.
We've done them a funny order, actually. We did Death to the Daleks first, then Revenge of the Cybermen. So we leapt forward a year, and then we'd go back. Yeah, let's leave the Silurians for a while. Who knows what we'll do next?
Chaos there.
The other thing we do is we invite you to send emails into podcast@nicholasbriggs.com.
Certainly do.
And we read those out. Maybe we'll do a couple after the commentary, but I'm minded to get going with it straight away.
Yeah, let's get rocking them.
Especially on the hottest day of the year. So let's see if our respective DVD players are going to work. I'll do 3, 2, 1, and we'll press on the 1.
On the 1, okay.
The fun. Okay. So here we go. 3, 2, 1.
It's going.
Mine's not.
Now there's a surprise. What's happened?
Oh, it started now. So let's go back.
Biddly bong, bing bing, biddly bong.
Right, should we try it again?
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Yep.
Mine started right on the 1.
Mine was a little bit delayed, but it's fine.
Okay, I'll pause it and restart it again. There we are. Okay, we should be in sync now. Oh. So here we are.
Oh no! Well, I thought we were starting again when you said we'll pause it and restart it. Oh, sorry. Okay, then we'll just do it one more time then. And
oh dear God! I'm just pushing it back to the beginning. And okay, you ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Da-da-da-dum.
Yep, pretty much there. Spot on.
Yeah, I'm keeping all that in because it was so entertaining.
Just chaos.
There we are. That lovely start. Give me your appraisal of this starting sequence like we've never seen it before.
It's just incredible. I mean, it is though. When I was young, I just couldn't get my head around it because it's better than special effects, isn't it? It's like it looks real.
And what's that font?
That font is it Futura Book?
Oh yeah, we've said this before.
Yeah.
So here we are. This is a slightly re-edited cliffhanger, isn't it? They changed it.
It is indeed.
Tom Baker about to be crushed by polystyrene rocks.
All the best people are. It's quite brutal, isn't it?
It is.
The way,
And he falls back on that. Why that doesn't break his back when he falls on that enormous cyber bomb strapped to him?
Was the big stone that hits him flat bang in the tummy? I would have thought that would have killed him.
Crushed his rib cage.
Yeah, he doesn't seem
smashed his gallstones.
Bothered. Go on, Harry. Smash his gallstones. Harry there, making sure his wig's still on.
It's not a wig. Although Tom Baker did claim he was only 5 foot tall and wore a curly wig when he was at a Doctor Who convention once. He said, "You won't know me once I take the wig off."
What an icon. Those stupid bombs, I think I've said it before, but they're just such a ridiculous contraption, aren't they? You'd think the Cybermen could come up with something a little bit smaller.
Yeah, it's like they didn't know they were in a sci-fi thing. Okay, here we go. Famous bits. Come on, iconic. Harry Sullivan is an imbecile. Straight to the Cybermen.
What an iconic moment.
And a bit of Sarah sneaking in there.
I feel like we see Sarah sneaking with her back to things quite a lot in Doctor Who, don't we?
Yeah, we certainly do.
They've got TV aerials on their back, haven't they?
Yeah, why don't they watch something decent?
I think they definitely are TV aerials that they've put on there.
Yeah, they're definitely the kind of TV aerial I used to have on the back of the portable television that I was bought in order to watch Doctor Who because my dad wanted to watch Kung Fu on the other side.
Well, who can blame him? Who doesn't love a bit of Kung Fu? Oh, now here's an interesting fact for you. The actor who plays Tony Blackburn in this, on the day which we're doing this commentary, it's in fact his birthday.
Wow.
He's no longer with us, but this is the day of his birth. So happy birthday,
when was
Mr.
Colonel
Blackburn.
Buchan's birthday?
I don't know.
Those of you listening to previous commentaries on Revenge of the Cybermen, I love this bit of music. I
love. Look at that lighting as
party
well.
Reports. See, I know these lines off by heart because I audio recorded it.
It's just glorious. I love it when things like that, like the blue lighting, just makes it look more space, doesn't it?
Does it space? Get the space lighting.
What is this? It's space.
In 8 minutes. I love it. Here we go. Utterly destroyed, annihilated, vaporized.
He knows them all.
It is good. I am, in fact, saying it slightly before Christopher Robbie says his lines there. It is good.
Lots of glitter, lots of glam.
Yes, they're going in for their fruitless attack on the Cybermen, aren't they? Which is a beautifully done bit of.
You can just tell that I reckon about 2 days after the recording of this, the glitter went everywhere.
Yeah, it does get everywhere, glitter, doesn't it?
My thing just randomly stopped, so I had to chivvy it on a little bit. So
okay. Sycophants in the city. The route to the surface, is that where you are?
Yep, that's where I'm at.
Oh, good. This is where Tyrone really gives it to Vorus.
Corb, look at that, shaking his stick around.
What about my calendar? My calendar had a lovely picture of Voger on it.
It did. It was and puppies and a small caravan.
Well, what's August on your calendar, Tyrone?
It's a picture of the HMS Carrot.
No, it's Sarah approaching something with her back to the wall.
Now, I'd love somebody to make a calendar of Sarah with her back to the wall in various sneaky scenarios.
Oh, he
didn't even knock, did he?
Moany, doesn't he? No. Well, of course. Oh.
He's really going for it with his acting, isn't he?
This episode's really kicking off. I feel like it's running away and I'll never be able to catch up with it.
And catch up with him, he's only got a stick.
You see, the whole thing is that guy, is that Shepra? Can't remember. Was Shepra the one with the handkerchief?
I can't, do you know, they all blur into one for me.
You racist. He didn't
Vocist.
knock because he doesn't work for Vorus.
Okay.
So he just came in to report to Tyrone. I love that slight subtlety there, you see. Here we go for the big attack.
This music.
The jump down classic. In a minute. Little bit of wind there.
First proper use of gold dust here.
The Cybermen are shaking it out of their hands, and down comes Tony Blackburn to spin a few discs just before.
Pick of the pops. Here he goes.
Okay, Cybermen.
I love the way the Cybermen, even though they've got guns on their heads, their solution is just to sort of try and chop people.
Yeah, they never think to open fire, do they?
I would have.
You see, if they stuffed gold in their guns or something.
Maybe. In their gums. Whoa!
Oh, no. And the way the Doctor looks away there, like he's just seen an unfortunate sandwich filling.
I don't know what they're expecting to do with those bombs, because they're clearly not very powerful, are they?
No, but that's the secondary explosion.
I suppose, yes, it is. Yeah.
But why the secondary explosion on the buckle doesn't set off the major explosion, I have no clue.
Well, any explosion's going to trigger another explosion, isn't it?
Well, I would have thought, like, if you set off a grenade next to a nuclear warhead, it might trigger it off. Or am I wrong?
Well, if you set off a grenade next to another grenade, they're both going to go off, aren't they?
Yes, but this doesn't work that way, does it? It's still humming. Here we go. It really kicks off with a cyberlit. What? Detonation by manual control.
See, the voice effect here, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds a bit stronger now than it was previously.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they've upped it. I think they thought that sounded a bit rubbish in the other episodes. Detonation.
Detonation.
I am emotionless and logical. Detonation.
There's nothing funnier, is there, with these villains, especially ones in outfits and funny masks and things, when they try to do something and it doesn't work, and they just sort of Like when the Daleks do something and then nothing happens.
At least they can waggle their eye stalks from side to side.
Yeah, the Cybermen.
What is going on? The Cybermen just kind of stare, don't they?
No, I don't know what's going on.
I'm impressed. Oh, what a fantastic shot of Sarah suddenly looking around. That should be used in a montage.
She's just excellent. Thing about Liz is that every time I see her playing Sarah, I notice something else about what she's doing.
Yeah.
Her legend status in the Doctor Who world is definitely deserved, 100%.
It is amazing. She's, luminous. I think I told you that when I heard the news that she died, I just that day been in the documentary for Death to the Daleks. And I'd done a whole bit about how brilliant Liz was, and they never used it. I think I spoke for about 15 minutes solidly. And they
never used it.
They didn't use that bit of it.
Shame they couldn't have used it later on for like a tribute documentary or something.
I know. I just did a thing about how, how underrated she is and how underserved she was by scripts, and yet how much she made of it.
I think it's
back.
I think it's lovely that she finally got that sort of. She lived to see her character really flourish.
I know.
And get its own series and loved by a new generation. I think that's just glorious.
And it's not for nothing that, a towering talent of modern television, Russell T Davies, looked back at all of old Doctor Who and he picked that character out of it.
He knows better than all of us.
Sarah Jane. Yeah, and he really made something of her. It's brilliant.
And she deserved it.
Yeah, it's lovely. Oh, we missed working with her with Tom Baker by a whisker,
Yeah.
I was talking to her in the January before she died, and then when we did finally record, when we recorded with Louise Jameson, it was just she had just died the day before, so it was very bittersweet. We were.
It must have
been enjoying
the
recording, but at the same time thinking of what could have been.
Especially as well, I suppose, because everybody, in that Doctor Who circle, everybody knows each other, and they would have spent all of them, even though they're different eras of the show's history, they would all know each other and things like that. I'm thinking Louise Jameson here, and things like that. So sad atmosphere. I can believe it. Yeah. Nice shiny belts there. They've been polishing those.
It's very good on the shiny belt syndrome.
I feel like he's trying to outshine the leader.
Yes. Are you trying to outshine me? I'm just curious about whether the Cybermen have repaired that tape recorder.
Repaired it? Just the idea. I just, for some reason, stopped then and thought about a Cyberman with a screwdriver.
It's just they pulled all the tape out, didn't they? I wonder whether they've
spent some time. Well, you better fix it now. You got a bit carried away, didn't you? Closer, Phil.
He's it's like the Doctor says later, nice sense of irony. For a moment there, I thought he was going to smile. And he does a bit of it there. This is all fantastic, and it's almost impossible to do a commentary of it because the Doctor and Sarah. The Doctor whistling to Sarah.
It is just superb.
All this is worked out in rehearsals to take up the extra time. I'll just hide here and then run over.
I love his outfit. I think that is my favourite out of all of Tom's costumes. This is my favourite because it's a little bit more understated. Later on when he wears the big coats and it's very iconic, but I quite like it here because he's sort of bumbling around.
And the way he walks, he has a very distinctive way of walking. He sort of walks like a student.
He walks.
I love that awkward slap on her arm.
Like he's going
Carry
somewhere.
Carry the bombs
to
the nose cone just coming up.
But they might explode, sir. I don't care. All right. I love the way they don't run. They just walk.
I said maximum urgency, you lazy scum.
Come on.
Oh, I dropped one, sorry.
No. Shouldn't have had the curry last night.
He does the big wide arm walk, doesn't he, the cyber leader?
Which he wouldn't do in a narrow corridor as well.
Oh. A lot of people in masks having an argument. Classic Doctor Who.
All sounding ever so slightly drunk as well. Oh, well, a minute.
This is my idea. Yes, was the Scotch your idea as well?
This is my idea, and so's my wife. They've all got funny faces because there's no genetic... there's no, like, single trait. They've all got weird, accentuated places different to each other.
I've said it before, and I say it again. They look like underwater people from Stingray.
They do. That's exactly what they look like. Look at that. Looks like it's made of rubber mostly. I always thought it was just metal. But I suppose no, it's underneath all the plating, isn't it?
Yes, that's it.
Clever.
Oh, we see.
The
Wow,
doctor.
He works everything out, doesn't he?
Has anybody seen this rope trick? Watch this.
I can make this disappear into my chest unit.
And pull it out of my rear end.
That Cyberman there looking at the control panel, he's got a look on his face. He looks like, what does any of this mean? He's just looking at that. I don't know, I'm supposed to know how to work this, aren't I?
He's like, I'm well out of my depth. I knew I shouldn't have lied on that interview.
He turns around, is there a manual, leader?
No. He's maybe if
And I love the fact that they put in a noise of the hyperdrive engaging, but the Cyberman hasn't actually touched a button at that point. They thought, well, let's just make people think he touched a button by putting
the sound in there.
Yeah, putting the sound in. There was a clip on Twitter of the Valiard pressing an imaginary button on his
I saw that.
I love all that.
We'll add it in post.
Yeah.
Just touches the table, doesn't he?
I can see you. Cyberman.
That famous shot of it jumping. The lights.
You can hear the guy inside going, ooh, ooh. And what he's trying to do, he's trying to keep his helmet on by jamming a Cybermat against it. Ooh. That's really a sort of old man falling over late at night after too many whiskies, isn't it?
Oh dear. I love all these radiophonic things when they pitch shift it up a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, did you hear that? Someone started a bit noisy bike near me.
And me. There's one here as well.
Oh, I lost the picture then. Sorry.
He's still got his tissue, hasn't he?
Yes. I hope he had extra... It's not in motion. They're just zooming towards the model, you fool. Great model, everything's getting terribly panicky. Oh, smack in the face.
I'll tell you something I thought the other day, and I know this is a silly thing to think, but given the fact that plastic takes absolutely ages to degrade away, everything that we're seeing, including all these models and the sets, do exist somewhere, be it reused or underground.
Oh yeah, and a lot of these things were from other sets and stuff anyway.
It's just the idea that the Nerva beacon is out there.
Straight to Apollo 11.
Yep. Definitely the real thing.
They just used that a couple of weeks before in Genesis of the Daleks for the rocket that
the rocket
destroys
launch,
the Thaldone.
They use it in everything, though. Don't they, though? That same footage. Missiles, rockets, you name it.
They just get to the point where they're trying to do a rocket and they think, we haven't got money for the effect, out with the stock footage.
Yeah, can you get that Apollo shot again? Yep, it's still in the office.
Here's the weird massage sequence.
Oh, yes. Bit of dust there.
And just it starts... Why is he massaging the Doctor?
Sarah's sort of looking like she's trying to swim.
And she's holding on to the... Oh, she did a good jump up there where he pulled her up.
Tom's there thinking, I've had enough of this.
Tie them up. He has to tell the Cyberman twice to tie them up, and he still doesn't tie them up.
I think that guy's on rapport. Yeah, I'd send him right out of the airlock. I'd give him to Raker from Blake 7 to deal with.
Exactly. Oh, hands on hips. Bye-bye.
Ooh.
I love that. That's a nice bit of comedy business, the two of them tied together and swizzling around. Here we go. Nice sense of irony coming up any second.
Hey.
Did you hear that pretty creak useless, then? Isn't it? What was that?
Something creaked. It looked almost
I think it's probably
like
my chair.
It was perfectly in sync with when the image on the screen wobbled around, so it looked like it was about to fall over.
No, it was my chair creaks. Off goes the phallic spaceship.
Yep.
They're getting away.
Beacon. Just go to bed.
They won't budge. I mean, look, they're so loose.
It's a tiny bit of rope. You could bite into that.
They could just sort of breathe in and let it drop to the floor, basically.
Well, you could just flail your arms around.
Hello, Vulgar. Hello, Vulgar. I love the way they put in a bleep of the activation of the mic, and yet he doesn't have his hands free to press a button at that point. I tell you, this whole sequence is as cheap as chips, and they sell it with such gusto.
Well, I think that is Doctor Who in a nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah. As cheap as chips, but they sell it with gusto.
This music's great, isn't it?
It's fantastic. Oh, Colonel Buchan. See, these stories are perfect to listen to, but because the sound effects tell you everything you need to know about the visuals, so it doesn't matter that the effects aren't very good.
Absolutely. And that's where the things like the little bleep on the microphone actually come in quite handy.
Yes, I mean, when I finally saw it again, I was appalled to see the fact that the Doctor hadn't pressed a button. We're heading for the biggest bang in history.
God,
there's a missile on our port bow.
Engage 2 thrust?
Full thrust, I think he's saying.
Well, you would never know. Look at that.
And all the bits fly downwards, as they obviously do in space. I was listening to a clip of Jerry Anderson talking about how Brian Johnston in Space 1999 shot with I think the camera was on the floor and the models were up in the air with the backdrop on the ceiling. So when things exploded in space, all the particles just went outwards and towards the camera.
Now that's a clever idea.
Yeah, they never
subsequently
thought
whack into whoever's on the camera.
And this was being shot at the same time as Space 1999 as well.
One had the money, clearly.
Yes, and a bit more ingenuity.
Well, quite. Well, you better do something, old girl, and quickly. I love the way that the Thal uniform has wonderfully 70s lapels.
Thal?
The Thals.
The what?
The Thals.
Where are the Thals?
No, she's wearing a Thal uniform.
Oh, I see. From She is. From Genesis of the Daleks.
Yes.
This
Come
terrible
on,
planet
get with
sausage
the picture,
that keeps rolling around on the screen.
I loved this as a kid. I remember thinking, that's just somebody spinning, like a, like what you use a roller on when you're painting a wall or something.
Yes,
but it looks surprisingly effective.
Well, yeah.
Oh look, and they're off again.
Yeah, wobbly model. Off you go. Well, it's all nearly over now. I'm sorry, Harry.
Oh, good. And here, conveniently, is TARDIS.
Mark Ayres told me that there was another cue here, which Philip Hinchcliffe cut, which was like a rather gentle little waltz as the Doctor, Sarah and Harry went into the TARDIS. Look, there's all the messages that the Brigadier's been sending from Scotland.
All already in there.
I always find it fascinating that that Terror of the Zygons was meant to come straight after this in this series, but they held it over in order to give them time to make more, to have another series of Doctor Who later in the year.
I think in a weird way it kind of shows as well, because I often think of Terror of the Zygons as being a little bit higher budget, certainly in the way it looks, but mainly it's just 'cause it's on location.
Yeah.
But, very different. Well, there we have it. That was it.
I was going to say earlier about Tom Baker's walk. Of course, when I first started working with him for Big Finish, he was I remember saying to my wife, do you know, he doesn't move like an old man. He was still very sprightly, and we saw that walk quite a lot, even as a man in his late 70s. But then within about 2 years, of course, his arthritis
kicked in,
descended, and then, you know, now he walks with a stick, although it's very difficult to keep him in his chair. He's always getting up and trying to demonstrate things, and I'm sort of there ready to catch him, you know. He has no sense of his own frailties, you know. But
he's great fun. Like when we spent the day on the looking at recording studios, you know, and he was just all over the place, even though he had a stick and that, he was up and down and walking around and
yes, completely uncontrollable, wasn't he? He was off, he was disappearing, talking to strangers, interested in their dogs, all that kind of stuff.
I say, is that a whippet? No, that wasn't that. I say, is that a lurcher?
That right.
Was a lurcher. Oh, well, that was...
I've accidentally started a file. Sorry, I've stopped it now.
Started a fire? Fire!
I've started a fire. Just ejecting that disc before anything weird happens. Yes, and as I may have said before, Benji, the brilliant thing about that day you and I spent with Tom is that, you know, he knows me and I've spent a lot of time with him, and I saw him deliberately that's me putting a DVD away, deliberately making an effort to make it a special time for you.
It's absolute icon. I just thought it was so, you know, for me, such a great memory, but also great fun because he lives up to be the legend.
Well, he deliberately put on the full Tom Baker act. Absolutely. You got, you know, when he saw us walking along and started waving from the other side of the platform on that little station and laughing, all we could hear was his mad laugh echoing across this tiny little country railway station on the most beautiful day, wasn't it?
Day very much like today, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just boiling hot.
I don't
you
know
look so happy to see me.
Yeah, is that what he said?
Yeah. Just a really nice guy. But as well, that's what you want, because we were looking at different studios, weren't we, to possibly record at. That's what you want, is to take Tom Baker along. They're never going to say, I don't think you can record here. They're going to say, oh, definitely, tomorrow will be fine. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
But yes, what a living legend is Mr. Baker.
Well, this is a bit of a short podcast, I tell you, because Jamie Anderson's just sent a message saying he's in a meeting, so he can't speak to us.
Oh, 2 weeks running. Oh, no, it wasn't. No, he did get to us last week.
We spoke to him last week. We had quite a chat with him.
Yes, we did. Yes, you're quite right. But he didn't pick up at first, I seem to recall.
That's right. He phoned back.
That was it, yes.
Because he was having a moment, by which he meant he was in the loo.
He was in a carsy.
In a carsy, mate. Listen, so let me read out an email that arrived today. From Stephen Small, sent to podcast at Big Finish. Sent to podcast at nicholasbriggs.com.
Get your podcast right. Come on, man.
Podcast at nicholasbriggs.com. That's what it is. And the subject line is the 25 years of Doctor Who. It was sent at 7:25 in the morning today, actually, on the 25th of July. Benji and Nick, being an American fan, I've noticed that average British TV may run for 2 to 3 seasons. At that point, the show would end. How did Doctor Who manage to last 25 years before being cancelled in 1989, or maybe even after Colin Baker's first season? I know I will receive a college lecture explanation. Steve Small, New Jersey, USA. What do you think?
It's a funny one, isn't it, really? It is a bit of a strange one. I think maybe it's down to the fact that it was pretty cheap to make. It worked at the time in which it worked. The Daleks helped. With Dalek Mania, and probably down to, certainly at the start, overseas sales and things like that. I wonder if it was just the perfect package and thus it kept going.
I think that's a perfectly reasonable answer. I mean, I think other factors are that back when Doctor Who started, a lot of TV series were made just sort of continuously, and Doctor Who was made continuously. They didn't, I mean, it was cut into different seasons or series, but they only took a tiny time off, didn't they? With the William Hartnell ones, it ran for 48 weeks a year. So they got 4 weeks off.
For something like that, from, you know, the BBC's children's tea time slots, as it were, to have that, you know, that impact where it actually went on to spawn 2 movies, the spin-off Dalek films or whatever, regardless of, even though that was a Terry Nation thing, the fact that Doctor Who's had the ability to do such a thing shows that it's, it was a valuable asset to have, and people loved it. It's still one of the most loyal fan bases in the world. I think it is I think it does go down to the fact that it is something special. Its ability to reinvent itself has lent it that sort of ability to keep going forever, really.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, that it was at the end of that era when Doctor Who was being made all year round, because for the Patrick Troughton era, I think they were making it 36 weeks a year. So, it was kind of mostly on all the time. It faltered when it was making the transition to just being 24 or 25 weeks or 26 weeks long, That's when it might have been cancelled.
Yeah.
And they only made it again because they literally couldn't come up with anything else. Interesting. I'm not sure that was quite a college lecture, Steve, but I hope that helps you. Basically, Doctor Who is a unique oddity, is really the...
I think it's a unique oddity subject to so many factors. It was just one of those things, wasn't it? Everything's sort of contributed at once to it being what it is today and still running. I mean, how crazy is that?
Yeah, incredible. Well, it was off for a long time, of course.
It was off for a long time.
Never come back. It was off. But Doctor Who's a bit off at the moment. Shall I? I'll just read one more, shall I?
Oh, yes, please.
Because we're both melting in the heat here. It's from Mark Hurst. It was sent the day before. It was sent yesterday. Yes, on the 24th at 12:02. Hi, NMB. New listener here, courtesy of the Jerry Anderson podcast, plugging you guys. Well, that's nice, isn't it?
Hey, hello. Welcome.
That makes up for Jamie not being here. I've been on catch-up for the last month, and I'm finally just about there. Well, I hope you've made it in time for this email, Mark. I have been a Blake Seven fan since the first airing on January the 2nd, 1978. I saw it after getting home from my first viewing of the new SF film Star Wars, which was released in the UK December 27th, 1977. For weeks, I would jog from school down to the cinema for another Star Wars viewing, then would just get home on the bus in time for Blake 7. God, what a contrast. In addition, on February the 20th, BBC Two began Series 2 of SF drama 1990 with Edward Woodward. Another show worth your consideration. Absolutely, I love it. Shown after Blake 7 finished on Monday evening, so my SF hit stretched from the end of school to bedtime. Halcyon days, indeed. Have you seen 1999, Benji?
I have indeed, yes.
1990, sorry, not 1999. I'm exaggerating.
No, I've not seen 1990.
1990 with Edward Woodward.
No, I've not seen it. I've not seen it.
Well, you should see that.
It's been on my list for a while to see, actually. I do need to get round to that one.
Paul Darrow was a great actor. I was lucky enough to see him as Vimes in Terry Pratchett's Guard stage play. He is much missed and really helped cement the team in Blake 7. His final scene at the end of Series 4 is one of my all-time favourite moments of TV. Couple of thoughts on older podcasts, though new to me. Sapphire and Steel is wonderful and still very creepy in places, with the audience frequently left to work things out for themselves. I know. The week assignment 1 began on TV, was shared by the Dukes of Hazzard, being moved to Monday primetime after a couple of initial episodes were shown post-Watershed. I was allowed to watch the Dukes and S&S episode 1, but was ordered to do homework on Thursday evening, missing episode 2, which I only got to see on VHS a decade later. Our parents cruel. This is national outrage. As a kid, I loved the tripods.
Hey. That's what I'm talking about. It's good to have some love for the tripods on here.
This is the tripods books, reading them many times. I heard they were making the show from a distant relative who played Henry and was hyped for it, but felt let down by the pedestrian pace, most unlike the books. A Big Finish audio version of all the books is a wonderful pipe dream. Yes, a pipe dream, yes. So he knew someone who played Henry. Distant relative.
The guy who played Henry, now what was his name? John Shackley was the lead. The guy who played Henry was...
Henry, who sounded like that all the time.
Who arguably really came out of his shell as time went on in the series. And
I know you argue that.
Jim Baker.
Who's now a lorry driver.
He's now a truck driver, HGV driver. But I tell you what, he gives a lot of time to the tripods community. He does a lot of cons and stuff for them.
Good for him, I say. Obviously, he won't have anything to do with me.
Enemy number one.
He's probably heard of me by now and calls me that. But anyway, finally, and sorry for the length of this missive, I tried to watch the Stone tapes, but the horrendous overacting killed it for me. It is a bit like too close. And I had to skip to the climax. Thanks for a year's worth of entertainment, even if I packed it into a month. Wow, that shows dedication.
That is pure dedication, and hopefully you've enjoyed what you've watched, and it's encouraged you to check out a few things you might have forgotten or things that you'd never seen before.
I think you must be our star listener. Keep up the good work, says Mark, sent from my work cubicle where I do all my best listening. I can tell there's no work going on in that cubicle. Where do you work? The DSS, I'm thinking.
Just lots of quoting Catweasel all the time. That's what
I hope
do.
He's like the Prime Minister's private secretary. Yeah, is that what you do all day? Just quote Catweasel to yourself?
We've got an international crisis in Iran. Mayhap. Consult Touchwood. Alright, I see nothing is going to happen about this crisis. No, thank you so much for writing in to let us know.
You'd be better off consulting Touchwood.
Well, it'd be quite fun, wouldn't it? That the secret to the United Kingdom's great success in a post-Brexit world is the fact that the Prime Minister gets his advice from a mystical psychic toad from
I think we should
Norman
start spreading that rumour now, that's actually true.
I can see it all now.
Okay, mate, what are we going to do next week?
So let me try and work out. What did we do last week? We talked about Cracker, so I guess next week it'll be what we've been listening to.
What we've been listening to. And what have we been watching? Yes, we've been watching it as well. What have I been watching?
I've been well and truly hooked on Soldier at the moment. That old 90s.
This is for Colin Smith, I'm saying.
Yeah, Soldier. What else have I been watching? A lot of Goodnight Sweetheart as well, actually.
Oh, okay.
That'd really into that at the moment. Yeah, I love Goodnight Sweetheart.
That'll be good on the cover as well. I've been just doing the new Avengers again. And I've watched episode 1 of Undermined, starring Jeremy Wilkin. Wilkin, Kelman.
Yeah, Kelman.
And the woman from Department S, whose name escapes me off. Oh God, what's her name? Because someone Facebooked me about it and said, oh, this is great. Also, I started watching a thing called The Guardians, which has never been shown since it was first on in 1971, about a future England ruled over by a horrible regime. And I watched 10 minutes of it and thought it was absolutely flipping terrible. That said, obviously I have to watch it all.
Well, that's how it works, isn't it? Yeah, I've just Googled it now. 13 60-minute episodes made by London Weekend Television. Oh, yeah, absolute class. This looks interesting. Hour long. You see, 1960s and hour long. It's 71. Okay. Yeah. But even then, 70s, hour long. You're really pushing it, aren't you? Really, it's either going to be brilliant or torturous.
Yeah, it may be the latter. But it looks like Coronation Street. That's what it looks like.
Okay, maybe I'll have to check that out. Can you get that on DVD?
You can.
Network, I presume?
I'm pretty certain. Likewise, Undermined. UNDERMIND. Yeah.
Science fiction, 1965. Cool, blimey, that does look very primitive.
Oh, it's as rough and dry as a bone.
Jeremy Wilkin as Drew Herriot.
And who's the woman? I can't remember her name.
Rosemary Nichols as Anne Harriet.
Nichols. She's amazing, yeah. It's really funny seeing Jeremy Wilkin, who never really became a star. But he's the star of this series, and yet there are other actors appearing in it as supporting actors who went on to become far more successful than he. I think it's
luck of the draw, isn't it, though, I suppose, really? Yeah. That's the way the cookie crumbles.
So that's what we'll be talking about next week, as well as reading out some of your emails, which you'll send to podcast@nicholasbriggs.com. Yes, please. Thank you. That's what we'll do.
Very exciting. I do love a good what we've been watching.
And hopefully we'll rouse Jamie Anderson.
Yes, definitely. So on that sort of bombshell, I'm coming closer to the microphone here.
Yes.
Well, it's been a pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed Revenge of the Cybermen.
Oh, I have. Goodbye. Pressing stop now.